What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're getting into my Week 12 NFL Power Rankings. So let's dive into it here. Starting out with the worst team in the league, number 32, we have the Carolina Panthers, dropping down a spot here. Just the worst team in the league, especially on the offensive end, just incompetent at this point. The O-line's the worst in the league at this time. There's a lot of bad O-lines in the league this season for whatever reason. But they are the worst O-line in the league. The defense is trying to fight, but it's just not enough the way this offense has been playing. They need to figure things out. And right now, Frank Wright has got to take a look in the mirror because he's not leading this team at all right now. This team's 1-9, and I think it really lies on his shoulder and the general manager's shoulder. Those two really, I think, are on the hot seat at this point for the Carolina Panthers. And then number 31, we have the New York Giants jumping up a spot, getting the win this week against the Commanders. Surprise, surprise. Was not expecting that one. New York comes out, plays a good game. The defense really turned over Washington. And their offense, Danny DeVito, credit to him. He did a good job. Brian Dable coached a good game. Ran the football a lot with Saquon Barkley. And this team made less mistakes than the Washington Commanders on the road. So credit to the Giants. I still think this team is one of the worst teams in the league, though. And that's why they come in at 31. Number 30, we do have the New England Patriots staying at 30 on the bye week, so nothing to talk about there. 29, we do have the Chicago Bears. Just an unfortunate loss. They had this game against the Detroit Lions, but the Lions just proved that they were the better team at the end there and showed why they were 8-2 and why the Chicago Bears were 3-8. It's an unfortunate loss. Justin Fields played a good game. The defense has some weapons. That's what I've been saying the past few weeks for the Bears is they have weapons, but it's just been a struggle. And I think that the Bears, just not a well-coached team at this point in time, need to figure that out. But Chicago almost won that game. So credit to them for competing with a top team in the league at this point. So good week for Chicago, just didn't wind up winning that game. And what's most unfortunate is if the Bears win that game, they're 4-7 in an NFC conference that's not the best. They could have maybe snicked him. But now that you're 3-8, that's basically a dagger. So the Bears, an unfortunate loss. And then number 28, we do have the Cardinals staying put. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals fought in this one, almost get the win against the Houston Texans. The Arizona Cardinals, not much has changed in my opinion of them. Kyler Murray is going to be this team going forward. They're a scrappy team without, otherwise, but Murray's the guy that's going to get the team wins, and, it's really good, I think, for the Cardinals to have him back because they almost won this football game against Houston this week. Just came up a little bit short. Then number 27, we do have a new team in this tier. The Titans dropping down 2 spots. They deserve at this point to come in this bad tier. I mean, just bad offense all the way around for the Tennessee Titans. The O-line, just one of the worst in the leagues. We mentioned it with the Panthers, the Giants, the Bears. The Titans are up there. I mean, I guess the Bears have done some decent things, but Patriots, you get the picture. The Titans O-line has just been atrocious the past few weeks, just have not gave Will Levis any time to do something. And that's the worst thing you want to do to a young quarterback that you're trying to develop is really give him no time. That really puts down his confidence. People are blaming him for that. That is not on Will Levis by any stretch of the imagination. Now, I do think this team's well coached, and the defense, although they've been scrappy, it just seems like they've gone a little bit softer with just how bad this offense has been. They're out on the field most of the game, so it's unfortunate for the Titans, but they deserve to come into the bad tier after that performance. So Put the Titans at 27. And then number 26, we do have the Commanders, staying put. Washington at 4-7. They're staying put, but they're coming into this bad tier. Each week, Commanders keep switching between the bad and decent tier, but this is a new low for Washington. This is a game that they needed to have for standings wise. And it's a game they should have won at home against the New York Giants. That's just unacceptable to lose that game. Their secondary gets torched by one of the worst offenses in the entire league. They play good against the Seahawks. Then I guess when they have the team that they're supposed to beat, they struggle. They play horrible against them. I just really don't know what to do with the Commanders at this point. They're just a train wreck. I think Ron Rivera needs to go at this point. He's not the guy. I don't think this is on Sam Howell. I think he's had a good season. I think Eric Bieniemy could be the perfect coach for this team going forward. Okay, and then that is the decent tier. The bad tier. Let's get to this vast decent tier who's gonna be as big as ever this week. Starting out with number 24, we do have the New York Jets. Dropping down 5 spots. I'm just sick of the Jets' offensive performances. One of the worst offenses in the league. Speaking of battle lines, the Jets are up there with one of the worst, maybe even the worst. It's just horrible. I mean, you expect to put all the blame on Zach Wilson when you have that kind of an O-line. No young quarterback that's struggling to start out his career is going to do anything with that O-line. Zach Wilson, I don't think was the problem. He's not the solution, but he was for sure not the problem. Starting Tim Boyle is not going to change that. I think he's going to struggle just as much, maybe play a good game because, he's a different quarterback than Zach Wilson and people don't have tape on him, but don't expect that to be the answer for the long-term solution. You need to fix this O-line if you're the New York Jets because this is one of the best defenses we've seen in a while. This is a really freaking good Jets defense. And when you have this bad of an offense and you can't do anything, you just waste all that talent being 4-6 at this point. It's just bad. We need a fix in New York. It's on the O-line. Something. I like Robert Saleh. I think he's a good mind. I think he's a good coach. He has done wonders for this defense. Not so much for the offense, though. So the Jets come in at 25. And then number 24, we do have the Green Bay Packers. Jumping up 3 spots, Packers get a much-needed win this week against the Chargers. This team is now 4-6, so they're not out of it yet for Green Bay. Jordan Love has been playing a lot better the past few weeks, so that's a big sign of improvement for the Green Bay Packers. The defense is still soft. It's still a Joe Barry-led unit. The Packers are still going to struggle on that end, but they played decent against the Chargers. It was really the Chargers making horrible mistakes that really lost that game for them on the offensive end. But still, the Packers, decent defensive performance. And Jordan Love, I think, was the story of this game. He played excellent, got things going, and the Packers pull off a big win in Lambeau Field. So, good win for Green Bay. Not going to slight them for that. They deserve to come into the decent tier after that performance. And then number 23, we do have the Las Vegas Raiders jumping up a spot. The Raiders at 5-6. This is a team getting the win this week. I like what the Raiders have been doing for this program, or for this team, sorry. Firing Josh McDaniels, the new coach comes in. He's been coaching up this team really well. Almost plays a good game against the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, we know what the Raiders are. They're not the best offense. They're not the best unit in general, but still, I like the Raiders' direction for the future. If they can just figure out the coaching and draft better, we'll see how the Raiders go. It's going to be a rough end to the season, I think, though. This team, I don't think, is going to make the make a run, make the playoffs. I think this team's just a decently coached team with some playmakers, and that's why they're coming at 23. And then number 22, we have the Atlanta Falcons staying put. The Falcons at 4-6 right now, on the bye week. Not much to say there, but we'll see what happens with them. And then 21 also on a bye week. We have the Colts also staying at the same spot. With all the craziness movement going on, both these teams stay in the same spot on their bye. So right there. Number 20, we do have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going to be dropping down a spot and out of the in the hunt tier here. The Buccaneers, just bad offense in a lot of phases. Just couldn't get things going against the Niners. Defense in that game, Baker Mayfield tried to do things. They just don't have enough talent on that side of the ball and the same on the defense to keep up with the team like the Niners, and it showed up this week. And this team's 4-6 at this point. Just a decent team that is average. That's really on both ends of the ball, I think, for the Tampa Bay Bucs. And then 19, we have the Rams jumping up 4 spots here. Huge win against the Seahawks. Went to that game as a Seattle fan, and we choke that game away as a Seahawks fan. That was horrible to watch, but credit to the Rams. Not gonna blame the refs on this channel, but they helped out the Rams in that one. But anyway, trying not to be as biased as possible here. The Rams came out, got the win. They swept us fair and square. The Los Angeles Rams, let's get to the more analysis side. Matthew Stafford played pretty good, even with Cooper Kupp going down. The offense really struggled to get things going for a while there. Figured some things out. The refs kind of helped them. Okay, not going to go into that more, but, scored some touchdowns, and the defense finished off that game. But they nearly lost that game. Still impressed. Beat a really solid team. I know I'm a Seahawks fan, but I think all of us can agree that the Seahawks are a good football team. And good win. But then 18, we do have the Cincinnati Bengals dropping down 11 spots here. And we know what it is. It's the Joe Burrow injury. That's why the Bengals are dropping down here. It's just unfortunate. These things happen for the Bengals. Prayers up to Joe Burrow. Hopefully he can heal up. But, the Bengals, they have talent. When they start a quarterback, they're very similar, I think, to the Vikings situation, except for the Vikings, I think, got a good backup in Josh Dobbs. I don't know if the Bengals will have that here. But Jamar Chase, they got Joe Mixon. O-line's not great, but they got a good play call. I think Zach Taylor, it's going to be big for him to see how he adjusts with a backup in now. Not his star player, Joe Burrow. And then the defense is very solid. So the Bengals, I do think, are a decent football team. Maybe they can scrap away, somehow make the postseason. Do I think this team's good enough to be in the playoffs without Joe Burrow? I don't think so, sadly, for the Bengals. But they come in at 18, just a scrappy team. And then 17, we have the Los Angeles Chargers dropping down 2 spots here. The Chargers charged it against the Green Bay Packers. They were the better team. Despite an outstanding performance from Justin Herbert, this team just can't win this football game. And it's just absolutely atrocious from the Los Angeles Chargers. They needed to win this game, and they just didn't get it done. The defense sucked again. Brandon Staley, I'm surprised he hasn't been fired yet. All these coaches getting fired. I know it's not head coaches, but coordinators getting fired. Brandon Staley has not gotten fired yet, and it's just, I'm starting to question the front office from the Chargers, why they see that in Brandon Staley. He is not the guy. I just don't know why they haven't fired him yet. He's just not a good mind on both ends of the football. So, The Chargers, defensively, horrible. Offensively, couldn't get anything going. The receivers dropped. I guess they could get things going. They could move down the field, but they couldn't finish drives. The receivers dropped the passes, slipped around in Lambeau Field because they weren't wearing the right cleats and all that. That's just the culture in Los Angeles is just like that, to lose games like that. That's what the Chargers are. Now, they can compete with a lot of good teams. They can win on any given Sunday, but right now, this has been one of the worst Chargers teams in terms of losing these close games that I've seen in a while. So, Los Angeles, a little bit of a rant there. They deserve to drop down 2 spots and into this in the hunt, or decent tier. They are not in the hunt at this point in the AFC, which is very, very crowded. All right, so now we're going to get to this in the hunt tier, or one team in the playoffs tier, actually, the Saints. Going to be jumping up 2 spots with the Bengals, and I believe it was the Chargers. Yep, Chargers dropping down. The Saints are going to come up into the hunt tier on the bye week, the playoffs tier, because they're in the AFC South. But yeah, good job for the Saints. All right, and then 2 teams in the hunt tier, very small in the hunt tier, because I just don't see any of these teams really being in the hunt at this point. But then we have the 15th team, the Steelers, dropping down a spot. Steelers offensively, fire Matt Canada. That's well needed. Speaking of firings, Brandon Staley should have been the same way, but at least the Steelers are a good organization. They realize that Matt Canada's not the guy. They needed to make a change in that offense because it's been a struggle all season long. They can't just keep expecting to barely win these games because of a lot of luckiness, to be honest. But anyway, the Pittsburgh Steelers get the unfortunate loss this week to the Cleveland Browns. It's a very good Browns defense against a very solid Steelers defense. And guess who won? The Browns defense. Browns have a little bit of better offense and I think a better defense. So that was really the factor, I think, there. But unfortunate loss for Pittsburgh. They were due for a loss, though, at some point. So Pittsburgh going to be dropping down a spot from that one. And then 14, we do have the Texans jumping up 3 spots, just barely beat the Cardinals. My opinion, this really is more about teams like, I do believe they deserve to be above the Saints. That was probably, or they were, so never mind. I made the right call. But like teams like the Bengals dropping down, Steelers, I think they dominated them earlier this year. They deserve to come above them. And then, of course, the Bengals, Texans deserve to come up. 14, good spot for Houston. C.J. Stroud playing really solid football, really good football, actually. He is the reason why this team's in the hunt at this point. They have some weapons and a really solid, well-coached defense, but that's it, I think, for Houston. And in the AFC, I don't think that's enough to make the playoffs, sadly. So, going to put the Houston Texans at 14. It was close between this next team. I debated putting them above them, but I just wasn't quite there yet. And that's going to be number 13, dropping down a spot. We have the Minnesota Vikings in this playoffs here in the NFC. Just an unfortunate loss this week to the Denver Broncos. Broncos come out, play a good game, and clutch up in the end there. And the Vikings, an unfortunate loss. Josh Dobbs kind of went back down to earth in the that final half, I guess. The Vikings, though, really solid defense. They played a really good game against the Broncos offense. And now Justin Jefferson's coming back. So I expect the Vikings in this NFC, the teams that are really trying to tail him are like the Rams, the Bucks, the Falcons, Packers, teams like that. Like, do we really think that the Vikings are a worse team than those teams? I don't think so. So the Vikings at 13 right now. I think record or like talent-wise, they are a clear number 7 seed in the NFC right now. Maybe the schedule will be unfortunate for them, but I'm going to give the Vikings that card right now. So they come in at 13. And then number 12, we do have the Denver Broncos continuing to rise. I believe before they beat or after They beat the Packers. They were down in the bad tier. They are all the way up into the playoffs tier. Congratulations, Broncos fans. You have made it back up. Jumping up 4 spots this week. Getting the win against the Vikings. This team just continues to find ways to win, not like the Broncos of old, getting the job done. And that's what you love to see if you are a Broncos fan. Really like the Broncos and Russell Wilson. Their defense has really changed things around. Courtland Sutton played in a phenomenal game. Russell Wilson played a really good game. I know a lot of people are dogging on him, but he played a good game against a Vikings defense that went after him. So I really like what the Broncos did this week. They really proved a lot of people wrong. And this team at this point, I do think is a 7th seed, even over teams like the Texans and the Steelers, who standing-wise have a little bit of a better record. But right now, I do think the Broncos are better teams, and they've proven it, beating really solid teams. Vikings, Chiefs, Bills. Really decent teams right there. Okay, moving on. We have the number 10 team, or number 11, sorry, the Cleveland Browns dropping down a spot. The Browns were in the contenders here. They're dropping out of that because of the Watson injury. I just don't see a P.J. Walker-led team, no matter how good your defense is. This is arguably one of the best defenses in the league, or, in the past, 5 years that we've seen. The best defense the best. But, like I said, it's just hard to win with P.J. Walker as your quarterback. Deshaun Watson at least did some good things when he was playing. But, the Browns, 7-3 right now is a really good record. They're probably going to make the playoffs. It would need a pretty big collapse for them not to. The Cleveland Browns come in at number 11. And then number 10, we do have the Buffalo Bills jumping up 3 spots. Getting the win this week against the New York Jets. It was a much-needed dominant win from the Bills. Maybe they can build off that momentum. Their offense looked a lot better this week, and it was against the Jets defense, who is one of the best in the leagues. And then the defense obviously shut down the Jets offense. So that's what you really like to see for the Bills. I'm not ready to say that this team is back, but with some of these teams falling, they for sure deserve to jump up here into this top 10. So that's where I'm going to put them. Number 9, we do have the Jacksonville Jaguars jumping up 2 spots. Good response this week. Now, it was just the Titans, but they come out and dominate Tennessee. That's what you expected from the Jaguars, and they did a good job at that. So that's what you like to see if you're a Jacksonville Jaguars fan. Bounce back win after the Niners loss. The defense has been playing really solid, and they're going to come in because of that at number 9. Number 8, Seattle Seahawks staying at the same spot. I am dropping this team out of the contenders here. One of the 3 teams dropping out of it, Seattle, Cleveland, and Cincinnati. So the Cincinnati Bengals and the Browns are really dropping out of that because of injuries. I think Seattle at this point, as a Seahawks fan, I got to be not as biased as possible here. I do think this team, from the general public, I'm ranking this team a bit higher than a lot of people because I believe in this team. This talent is just too good. I've seen how good this defense is, kind of a meltdown. Penalties, horrible penalties on us. Again, I'm not trying to blame the refs for why we lost that game, but it was a big factor. The Seahawks, man, offensively, it just seems like we're so inconsistent. We could be so much better, and we need to figure that out. If we can be a contender. Right now, I think it's justified to put this team out of the contenders tier because we have not figured that out. I do think we'll bounce back eventually. It's a gauntlet of 4 games. We got the Niners twice, the Cowboys, and the Eagles. It's going to be a big test for Seattle. We need to win a couple of those games, I think. I think we can. I think we will. We'll see if we will, though. If we will. It really starts out with a tough Thanksgiving game. But which is perfect. You can come right back, bounce back, as long as Gino's healthy for the game. I like that. But, Seattle's going to unfortunately drop out of the contenders tier from that. All right, anyway, into the contenders tier. Number 7, we have the Lions. jumping up 2 spots, and they are going to be at the bottom of the contenders tier. But a big statement win from the Bears in that second half to come back, show that they can continue to fight and pull off the win. That was big. They were not playing great in that game. Jared Goff kind of struggled in that first half. That was that's got to be his worst game of the season yet, but he bounced back. He played phenomenal in the next half, and that's all that matters is how you finish. That's what matters in this league, and the Lions finished strong and get a big win. And then number 6, we have the Cowboys. They dominated the Panthers. What else is there to say? The Cowboys dominated another good team or bad team. They need to show that they can beat the better teams for them to come out of this 6th spot, which they've stayed in for the past 7 weeks. I have no idea. I'll have to look at that, but it's been number 6 for a while here for Dallas. Staying at that spot, which is not a bad spot to stay in. You're trying to get in the top 5, but just haven't quite gotten over the hump yet. And then number 5, we do have the Miami Dolphins, also staying at the same spot. Again, getting the job done against the Raiders. Tua didn't play his best game. He needs to play better than that. The past few games have been not the Tua that I know that he can be. I believe in Tua. I'm a Dolphin, fan. Well, not Dolphin fan, but I am a Dolphin supporter here. I think this team's better than what people are giving credit for. I know they haven't beaten, a top team yet. I do think they have the capabilities to do that, though, and I think they will eventually. And this team is a contender. This offense is just too good to not be at this point. So, Dolphins coming at number 5. Number 4, we do have the Niners staying at the same spot. Brock Purdy played a phenomenal game this week. Now that he gets back Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel, he can really start to play like the Brock Purdy from earlier this season, because just absolutely bury the Buccaneers. Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Trent Williams, Deebo Samuel. I can go on and on from this offense, and the same thing for the defense. The defense is really good as well. Bringing in Chase Young's done a good job for the Niners. So, Niners coming at number 4. They're at 7-3. A lot of people probably say they could be higher. They could be for sure, but I'm going to keep them there at number 4. And then number 3, we do have the Kansas City Chiefs. Going to be dropping down a spot. Just too many mistakes in this game. I think they deserve to come below the team that's going to come ahead of them, which I'm pretty sure y'all can guess is going to be the Baltimore Ravens. But anyway, the Chiefs just had this game. The Travis Kelce fumble, the MVS drop. This team should have won this game. Their defense played phenomenal against the Eagles' offense. Really had a good game plan. I've been super impressed with the Chiefs' defense. Just haven't got as much credit as they are due to, because we're usually just used to, praising Patrick Mahomes the whole time. But this defense has been phenomenal. But yeah, like I mentioned, the mistakes held them back. Need to figure this out. They are the Chiefs. I believe they will. But at this point, dropping out of 3 is fair. And then number 2, we have the Ravens. I know they didn't beat a Joe Burrow-led Bengals team for most of that game, but it was still a dominant win. The Ravens have been dominant against a contender, the Lions, a Seahawks team who's barely on the contender mark there. They've just been dominant. They've been a little bit inconsistent, losing to the Browns. Get a big win against the Bengals this week, though. Even without Joe Burrow, I do think at this point, with the Chiefs losing, they deserve to jump up. It's not really what the Ravens did this week. It was what the Chiefs, unfortunately, did that brings the Ravens to number 2. And then rounding it up, we have the number 1 team, the Philadelphia Eagles. Of course, they are number 1. Just Jalen Hurts plays a phenomenal game. He's looking like an MVP candidate at this point. Obviously, the Chiefs defense played a good game, against them. But the Eagles defense steps up. It wasn't the best day at the office for the Eagles, but they got the win. And the win is a win. They are the best team in the league at 9-1. All right, guys. Thank you all for watching. Peace out.